everybody. Randy Patterson here with Boomerocity. And us baby boomers know that as we were graduating from high school and getting out and about, some of our kid brothers and sisters who were still part of the baby boomer demographic were getting into this new genre, new to us at least, called New Wave. And one of those pioneering bands was a band called Translator. They were out of San Francisco and they were quite popular and put out some great music. The band was pretty big from say 1980 to around 1986. And at that time in 1986, they put on a concert at the Barn in San Francisco, and that concert was their last one before splitting up, at least for a while. Well, unbeknownst to them, that concert was recorded on cassette. It was given to them shortly afterwards, and that cassette was kept around for many years. Well, they've taken that cassette, they've ran it through the magic of technology, and they have come out with Beyond Today, live at the farm in San Francisco, 1986. It's a live album of Translator. And I got to talk with two of the original band members, Steve Barton and Dave Scheff. And we had a great talk about what was going on then, how this album came about, all that kind of stuff. We talk about the music business in general. A lot of fun. These guys were great to talk to, very informative. And I think you're really going to love this interview. While you're listening to it, as always, I ask that you hit like and hit subscribe. It just helps us out. We don't ask you for money. We just ask you to click. So as you also, please share it with any of your friends who were into New Wave at that time. So without any further ado, here's my first interview with Steve Barton and Dave Scheff of Translator. Until next time, this is Randy Patterson with Boomerocity. Take care.
Hello.
Hello there. I'm being ganged up on now. Wasn't expecting that. Good deal. I thought I was only going to have, which one's Steve?
This one's Steve.
Steve. All right. That's right.
If you want.
Yeah.
No, I'll keep you both here. So pleasure to have you both. Where are you guys clicking in from?
We're at my place in Portland, Oregon.
Oh, Portland, Oregon. Okay. All right. Good deal.
I almost said
We got
Seattle.
friends up near there. Pardon me?
I almost said Seattle.
We're
I
not
don't
in
know
Seattle.
why I think I'm in Seattle.
Well, good deal. Well, I'm talking to you from the Smoky Mountains way down south, as the Beatles said. So a
Nice.
couple miles from Dollywood. But
All right.
well,
We were there.
I've never been to Dollywood.
On tour, we stopped there to
No.
use the bathroom.
I
Oh no, I think it was.
I don't think
up.
so.
No, okay,
No.
all right.
we have outhouses here. We don't have indoor plumbing, so
Right.
and we use catalogs for toilet paper. So and we wear shoes on Sunday. But thank you both for joining me. This is a big pleasure, and I love this live album you guys have got rolling out here. Tell me the story behind it. What made you decide to do this, and how did it all come about?
Well, I mean, I'll start.
Please.
It was recorded in 1986 at a show in San Francisco at a place called The Farm, which I don't think it's there anymore. And we thought at the time it was going to be our final show, that we were breaking up and that's it. And it was for a time, but then as one does, we through the years got back together from time to time, and we've done other stuff. But our sound guy at the time, Floyd Saunders, made a cassette, decided, hey, this is the final show, I better document this. So he recorded a cassette of the show. And
In a cassette machine sitting on the board. Nothing like hot
yeah,
stuff.
it wasn't like,
Not a moldy tracker or anything.
No,
Wow.
And so we all had this in our archives, and I had a copy of it, and I digitized it. And then listened, it sounds really good, especially for a 40-year-old, cassette. And so we sent it to a guy that I like to work with in London named Michael Smith to get it in some sort of sonic, listenability. So it wasn't just the 40-year-old cassette, which has a few little issues. But um, and then Liberation Hall, I'm not sure how they heard it.
I can tell you that.
Yeah,
I was talking with my friend Barry Simons, who's a music biz attorney,
right.
the only pretty much music biz attorney in San Francisco. We were old buddies, and I said, "We've got this recording. We don't know what to do with it. We'd like to put it up. If we put it out just by ourselves, honestly, unless we hired a PR firm, which we probably weren't going to do, who's going to ever hear it?" And he said, "I have just the guy. Here's Arnie Shore's phone number. Call him up and tell him he's
Oh,
putting out lots of 415 stuff. That he puts out. Arnie puts out a lot of the 415 stuff that was not released under Columbia/Sony. So if it was
Uh,
415 owned, he had the right to put that out. Well, nobody owns this, so I called Arnie and said, so I introduced myself. I'm Dave from Translator. Hey, really? I said, yeah, we've got this cassette recording, but it actually sounds pretty good. He said, really? And I said, yeah, you want to put it out? He said, yes. And I said, really? Yeah. So yeah, that's how it started.
yeah. That's
So thanks to Barry.
yeah. And then we recorded two new songs because there's a bunch, I think 14 or so live numbers, and then two new songs that we did that our friend Ed Stasium, who produced two of the Translator albums, um, mixed. And so that's those two songs are included on the CD and the digital version, and then the LP is just live tracks.
mhm.
There's only so much room
Well,
on that.
I imagine working on this brought back a lot of memories. What came to mind as you guys were working on this?
Well, for me, I mean, I hadn't listened to it in years, and to really have to focus in and really listen to it, I was really kind of blown away with how powerful the band sounded.
Hmm.
It's a big uh, melodic noise, and which was always sort of our goal in a way. And so I was really kind of blown away with how it sounded, and also the audience response was
Yeah.
really pretty remarkable. And it really comes across.
Yeah, the albums are even on Evening of the Harvest, the fourth album, which is mostly live, but it's live in a recording studio. So we never really released anything that sounded like what we really sounded like live. And
Hmm.
so hearing this, I was blown away with like, wow, it's a good band.
Yeah.
Well, I had written down to ask you what were the surprises, but I think you're telling me those already. Was there anything like really buried though, aside from the sound of the band, the quality of the tape? Was there something that had that just you go, wow, I didn't realize this at the time, or
The energy
I.
of it. I mean, we felt the energy of it at the time, but when I listened to it, I can tell, like the very first song, Beyond Today, that it was very hard to even hold back on just something that's just kind of a basic beat. I'm like in it, it's just
Mhm.
very, very
That
emotional.
that's a good song to call out because that ended up being the title of this too. It's good. This album's called Beyond Today, live at the farm. But that song seemed like a good song to start. It was the first song we played at the night too. It was the opening song of the set. The rest of it is not in the set order, but this was the song that we opened the night with, and it just really set the tone. And so
Mhm.
that it didn't surprise me, but I had kind of forgotten how well that worked.
Yeah.
And it's a really good version of that song.
Cool. What I mean, you guys have, you like you said, you've been together and not, and you kind of get together from time to time, right? What you still obviously have a following,
Yeah.
and that following seems to be, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's pretty doggone loyal,
Oh,
is it not? I mean, describe your fan base as it is today.
well, loyal is a really good word.
Yeah.
And passionate is another one. Because I put out solo records that Dave usually plays drums on, actually, and almost always. And uh, and a lot of the same fans will pick that stuff up too. And so the people have been really loyal to follow us in our all our different versions of ourselves, which is lovely. And I'm friends with some of our fans, which is nice too.
Oh yeah.
Are you? I know when I talk to a lot of your peers, who have been in the business for quite a while, they start describing the vast span of the demographic age wise. Are you guys finding that to be the case as well?
Interesting.
Well, I don't know exactly because we haven't been, playing live, but I think that judging from online response, if that's a, way to judge things, um, yeah, it seems to be, a lot of people are older, but there is definitely a younger generation that I did an interview recently with someone who was younger and was talking about the legacy of the band, and it's like, and you know, so it's definitely, I think, transcends just the our kind of our generation.
I know
Hmm.
that some of the fans have turned their kids onto it, who have turned their at this point have turned their kids onto it, which is pretty interesting to
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
Don't
Not
you
to
think
make us feel
that?
old or anything, right? So,
I do hear from people who are younger, who will say, "Hey, how do you play Necessary Spinning or Everywhere That I'm Not?" And I've put together little videos for people because they're kind of weird chords going, well, it's actually, you voice it like this. And that's really cool to see that the music, because the whole point is to communicate through this music. So if it
yeah.
affects someone to, as much to want to reach out and go, hey, how do I play that song you wrote? It really means something to me. That really means a lot to me.
And we knew at the time that we had a pretty decent fan base, but at least I pretty much thought of us as kind of a San Francisco band, like bigger at home than other places, although we
Yeah.
did sell out shows around the country. And after this show, after the farm, I did a couple of other records with other people and did some other stuff. And then I moved to Nashville. I thought I was going to do session work. I ended up doing a little bit of session work and then joining another band and moving away. But uh, I was telling Steve last night, I walked into a record store, Katz Records in Nashville, which at the time was the record store.
Hmm.
And they had a help wanted sign. I needed a job as well as gigs. And so I walked in and said, do you need anybody? It looks like you do. And the manager said, well, have you ever worked retail before? And I said, well, actually, no. And the record buyer was in the back of the store and he goes, it's the drummer from Translator. Hire that guy. So, like, yeah, okay. I guess it's more well known than I thought.
Yeah.
It is surprising how how notoriety manifests itself, and and how that notoriety can be tied to the quality of your work. And I think that speaks volumes of Translator then and now. And did you imagine though when you were on that stage when this thing was being recorded? You know, what did you think? Where'd all those years since that was recorded? Did you think that far ahead and say, well, we'll be re-releasing this thing and we'll be sitting here doing video interviews over the internet, not that the internet was even known about then, but I mean, what did you guys think this future would look like then? And I know it's different. It turned out differently than you thought, but
It's funny. For me, you know, especially if I think back to like that night, if I would, it would never have occurred to me to think, gee, I wonder if in 40 years what's going to happen. It's just, it was hard for me to imagine, next week, then
yeah.
I've never been a big, 5-year plan or in 10 years I'll be here.
Yeah.
And, because I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But that being said, um, I think after that show, for me, it was like emotionally draining. Because especially since we thought we were breaking up, and I was sort of like, "What the fuck am I supposed to do now?" It was that kind of thing, and um, so it took me a little while to sort of sort out what that was all about. So it wasn't just like, "Gee, I wonder if this is going to be a legacy thing." Cool. It was much more emotionally kind of fraught.
Yeah, I didn't realize I was depressed after it until I I went away. I went to Hawaii for a week immediately after the show. I just wanted to take some time, and I figured, here nobody knows anything about it because in San Francisco you couldn't walk down the street without somebody going, "Wow, you broke up?" What?
Right.
And so I'm laying on the beach in Hawaii, and so a shadow comes and blocks the sun in front of my face, and I open my eyes, and the sky goes, "Why'd you guys break up?"
Oh, yeah. I remember I was in San Francisco. We ended up, my wife and I, moving to LA because it was like I had to get out of San Francisco. It was like the same thing. It was like every corner was like another ghost. So it was like, I had to go down to LA. But I was before we moved, I was in the gym in San Francisco, and
What's
I
the
was
gym?
some gym there.
I, he's using that foul language to
And
us.
I was like on like a treadmill or something, and this person came up to me and said, "So, are you going to be doing some more shows though?" And so let's go, he just couldn't get away from it. And so, which looking back on it, it was really kind of lovely because I think it affected the band, affected the people it affected really deeply, and to this day, I think that's why, going back to your earlier question, they're loyal. I think there's an emotional connection. Maybe every band has that with their fans, but I'm just know for us, we definitely did.
People really were attracted to the lyrics as well as
Yeah,
just the band, the music, the whole thing.
absolutely.
I mean, when I joined Winter Hours after Nashville, I joined this band called Winter Hours on the East Coast, and they had a lot of fans. They toured all the time, and one young woman, she was probably 10 or 15 years younger than I was at the time, barely old enough to get into the club, came over to me and said, "For my generation, you guys are like the Beatles to us." I said, "Well, that's a lot to say." And
That
obviously,
is.
entirely true for her and maybe her little cohort. It was true, but it really meant something. I grew up listening to those lyrics, and those songs really touched me. That made me feel great. I mean, I didn't write the songs, but I played on
Yeah,
them, and I made
yeah,
me feel really good.
yeah.
Do you, comparing today to then, do you feel like music fans, especially young ones, get music the way we did
Hmm.
when?
Um,
It was so central to the whole. Uh, what am I trying to say? To the whole culture, and now it's different now. I think. I don't know. What do
it's
you think?
well, I will say this. I am not someone who thinks, "Wow, it's too bad." It used to be that. Well, back in my day, it was so much better because of
Yeah,
this. Now the people now it's always different, and I think that um, clearly there is so much music out there, especially now with the kind of leveling with you can record something in your bedroom like I could do here, and release it the next day if you wanted to, you know, put it up streaming or whatever. And that doesn't mean everything's good, but I think that
And everything wasn't good back then either. I
no,
mean, I
no,
remember listening to the radio, and it's like there's the Beatles and the Stones, and then Snoopy versus the Red Baron.
yeah,
It's like,
not
well, is that a good song? I
yeah,
don't, you know.
yeah, yeah. There's always you know different things are going to come up and be whatever affect you however they affect you. But I think that it I'm not sure I can really answer how younger people listen to music now because that's them listening to music now, and it's kind of not for me to say that oh well you should put on headphones and turn the lights off and it's you got to be a whole experience. It's like, well, no, I just put it on and I listen to it. If it's in the background, that's fine. I'm not sure it is. I think that music gets in there, and I think people um, I know younger people who are passionately, deeply into music.
And some writing their own and playing it.
Writing,
And there's a
yeah,
lot of great
yeah,
new bands out there. It's just they're harder to. You have to find out about it, and I'm not sure how you do because I'm not in the culture of people who are that age at this point.
yeah,
yeah.
But I also went into my local cafe, and nobody in there is older than 22 that's working behind the counter. They were playing Nick Drake
yeah.
just last weekend.
Mhm.
So,
Wow.
and I said, is this just on some serious station and this just happened to come on? He said, no, no, I put that on. It's one of my favorite records. It was like Pink Moon or something.
I will say
Wow.
that I once went into a cafe when I was living in West Hollywood in California. This was a few years ago. But it was on my local cafe, and I walked in, and um, everywhere that I'm not, the translator song was playing over the in-house thing. And I said to the, 22-year-old barista, I said, "Oh, um, that's me." She said, "Wait, what?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "Oh, wow, I love that song." It was just like Spotify or something, but she said, "Oh, wow, really?" I think my coffee might have been free.
That's
Nothing like a little bit of the benefits
I'll
of
take it.
stardom there.
Yeah.
Well, you're talking about San Francisco. When I first launched Boomerocity 16 years ago,
Mm.
one of the first interviews I did, I was working for a tech company and I lived in Dallas, had to fly into San Jose, and I arranged to meet up with Sam Andrews, a big brother in the holding company.
wow.
Lived
Yeah.
Yeah.
up in the San Rafael area. And we met at this cafe was closed there. We're sitting outside at one of the tables. I had my little digital recorder going. And it was so surreal that here's a rock icon, right? And sitting right across from me. And he made an interesting statement that I think goes to what we were just talking about. And he said, Randy, when we were doing all of this, we were creating it. He goes, now you have schools that crank out 500 graduates a year who can do Hendrix as well as Hendrix.
Hmm. But
And
they didn't.
essentially, pardon me?
But they didn't write it. They didn't invent it.
Exactly, exactly. And but that said, I mean, there seems to be, I mean, the quantity of stuff to choose from. It has become, I mean, it's basic economics, right? Supply demand, and things have gotten so commoditized that it seems to the unintentional consequence has been to devalue or get lost in the mass of offerings out there, and it's hard to get noticed. I mean, heck, it's that way with podcasts now.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so try to get noticed as a podcast. How do now you got to worry about algorithms and crap. It's just, it's insane. But that said, it still seems that that generation gravitates towards our stuff.
Well,
And there's something there. Why do you think that is?
well, to back up a minute, that's part of why we left Los Angeles. We walked through our rehearsal studio, which had a bunch of different rehearsal studios in it, and we heard one band that sounded exactly like the Talking Heads. There was another band that sounded like Elvis Costello. Then we passed another room, and there were two. This is 1979, and there were two guys arguing about. And they did not have a record deal, arguing about, well, I wrote the chorus, I should get 30%. And we just thought, let's get out of here because we were too weird for the LA scene at the time as it was. I mean, we were getting gigs, but they wanted people to play and sound like those other bands and have all their audience buy a lot of beer. And we
Yeah.
moved to San Francisco and we got signed in San Francisco. But we left. So I think this has always been a thing. There's always been a commodification aspect to it. But you're right. It's different now that there's so much out there. I mean, how do you get
Mhm.
noticed? Exactly.
But uh, I know we're talking about this translator record, but I put, like I said earlier, my solo records out these days, and these old days, and um, you know, I how can I say this? I can't allow myself in a way to think about that kind of stuff because it's like it's always been hard to get heard or to this has never been an easy kind of path, and for me, I feel like I just write the songs. And I also think that part of the reason that stuff has had staying power is that it all comes down with songs. And not to, I'm not talking about us, I'm stuff from like we're talking about, whether it's Big Brother and Holding Company or stuff from back then, or certainly the Beatles. It comes down to the songs and the playing of them, but it comes down to the songs. And a good song is a good song, whether it's by Gershwin or by me. And so, you know, it's what I guess what I'm trying to say is I think I'd go crazy if I started thinking, oh, I've made this cool record. Oh my God, no one's ever going to hear it. What am I going to do? Oh shit. Oh no, I don't know. I'd go crazy. I think you just have to do it.
Hmm. That's true. I agree. I can relate to that because I'm in my 17th year now, almost 600 interviews,
Yeah.
and I
Congratulations.
do it because I love. Thank you. I do it because I love it. I love the music. I love our generation and
Yeah.
everything that took place. I mean, all the product of that, the music, the movies, the TV shows, the books, and I do it to help codify, help document it, and
Yeah.
to let people know these guys like you are still doing music. So don't, go
Yeah.
see them, that kind
Yeah.
of thing. And I figure the money will come when the money comes. I do it for the love of it, not for the buck of it.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, look,
and
I mean, I saw the Beatles twice. Um, you know, I,
wow.
it's that's sort of the root of, of everything. Um, for me, and I think probably for Dave too,
Yeah,
but
it's the touchstone
the
for it
Beatles
all.
is where it all comes from.
Yeah. Well, my first concert was Elvis Presley, not Costello.
I saw Elvis Presley too. I saw him in Las Vegas.
Really? What year?
70, I think one or two.
Oh, see, I saw him April of '73 in Phoenix. And I met Colonel Parker while I was there. I got there 2 hours early. I say he's my first celebrity interview. So,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
so the mantle fell on me when I was 14. So uh, it
When I
just took a
was
while
14,
to get it going.
when I was about 15, I called my mom's cousin's husband at the time, Mike Stoller from Lieber and Stoller, who wrote
Yeah.
all those Elvis hits. And I called
Wow.
and said, hi, Uncle Mike, it's Dave. I play drums. I want to, what do I do? And he said, learn to read. You want to make a living? Learn to read. And I said, okay, you learn to read music. You want to make a living. If you want to be a guy in a band, start a band. But if you want to have a living, learn how to read.
Look, here's my ticket.
There you go.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's from
Wow.
that's from Dodger Stadium. I saw them at the Hollywood Bowl the year before.
My goodness.
I never did.
Wow.
My parents, oh, it'll be too crowded. We don't think you should go.
It was also $6,
Yeah.
and my parents gave me the choice of the Beatles or the Rolling Stones because they were both touring like the same summer, and so I want to see the Beatles. But
Good
I
choice.
never saw the Stones with Brian Jones, but I did see them with Mick Taylor.
Yeah, me too.
I've seen the Stones 3 times, but it's been in the last 20 years, So, well, Bridges to Babylon forward,
I
So,
saw Exile on Main Street was the first one I
oh,
saw.
wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
I
very
would say
cool.
it was 1969. I was in high school, junior, I guess, and I was sitting at home, and I got a phone call from someone saying, "Hi, you're a friend of my friend Fran's. She said you have a car," and I said, "Yeah, I have a car." She said, "Well, my brother's a DJ on KHJ, and I've got 2 tickets to the Stones. You want to take me to the Stones?" I said, "Yeah." It was that night, like an hour and a half later, and
Oh, wow.
incredible seats, and it was like they were about I guess they were about to go up and play Altamont like the next weekend.
Wow.
Whoa.
It was when they were still kind of dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joe.
Wow. Sam Cutler was her road manager then. He wrote a great book before he died, and I was supposed to interview him, and it never happened. But see, that's the kind of stuff I like getting on video so people can hear it and say,
Yeah.
"Oh, I was there," or I was at the show 5 shows after, and that kind of thing, because I think people are interested in that.
We were both at the same Cream show, although we didn't know each other yet.
Yeah.
No kidding.
The
Wow.
been out their final tour
Yeah.
at the Forum in LA.
Very cool. Only been to Forum once to see the Ice Capade show in 1978. Kid you not, it sounded like something from the movies. The guy's spinning around on ice and he wipes out and he's just laying there. And the whole Forum thinks it's part of the show.
Oh.
And finally, you hear this voice over the speaker system going, I kid you not, the exact words, "Is there a doctor in the house?" And I mean,
The-
paramedics show up to carry him out on the board. I don't know what happened to the guy, but he
when
was
I saw
hurt.
the Stones in '69, the Ice Capades was the next night and the night before. So they didn't, so the ice was still on the, and I had floor seats. And so they just put down plywood. And about midway through the show, I was like, man, my feet are killing me. It's freezing in here.
That's hysterical.
Gosh, I wonder if they would do that now, or if they you would just have to book around the ice, because to me
I
it
think
seems
they
like the ice quality would be bad. Well, this is really interesting. So, what are you? I've been asking people this, and since you've got this album coming out, kind of, in my mind, is a good symbol of what I'm about to ask you, and that is, you know, it involves two elements. One is catalogs being sold. Your peers are selling off their publishing and rights, and I know there's some variation to it. It's not just a all or nothing type of sale. There can be some nuances to it, but you have these catalogs being sold for huge amounts of money,
Yeah.
and then you have AI coming into the picture.
Yeah.
And my concern is these big bucks, these big entities are going to have the catalog and they're going to have AI and they're going to bash it all together and bastardize the original music somehow or other in ways that we can't even imagine right now. I'm hoping AI helps with royalties and makes it a lot more cleaner. But what are your thoughts about A, the catalog sales, and B, AI affecting existing catalogs and future music?
Well, I didn't write the songs, but I would say that if someone wants to make an offer of for the translator catalog, we would entertain it.
I mean, you know, people, especially big superstars, selling their catalogs. Um, that's a decision that they all have to make, kind of on their own. If it makes sense for them. I mean, it can be a tremendous amount of money.
You see what Neil Young said the other day. It's like, yeah, I sold my catalog. I don't want to have to think about the business anymore. I just want to be. I'm 78 years old or
Yeah.
whatever he said. I just want to like have all that money and do whatever I want for the next few years until I die.
Yeah, and people who do that, I think Sting had, different people who do that. It's like it's a individual decision, why they would do that. In terms of AI, um, and in terms of AI specifically to your question about if someone sells their catalog, will a big publishing company or record company do something? Um, I don't know. I don't know about that. I think my experience is I think that a publishing company that would buy the publishing rights, they're really into it. Usually, I know this isn't a popular opinion, but I believe that most of the time they're into it because they love the music. If they're going to go to the trouble of buying this, spending $300 million or whatever to buy a catalog of music, and they want to the word used is exploit it, to the best that they can, whether that's in however they do that. I don't see them like sort of, oh, we'll take the vocal off of this record and then we can make this other thing with AI and do something with I don't see that happening, but I could be completely off base.
I don't know. I could see that happening, except I think you could also say, I mean, there's this big legal contract going on when you're doing that, and you could always say, you can buy my catalog, you cannot do this, and this. Sign here.
Right.
Well,
Right.
chances are that is in those
Yeah,
contracts.
that was me.
And
That's what I
younger
did.
people coming up, I will say this about, we talked about younger people earlier, younger artists are really savvy about stuff, legally speaking. It wouldn't occur to them to sign all their rights away, for example, like people used to do.
Yeah.
It just, it wouldn't occur to them. They'd license it
Yeah.
out to record company or whatever.
Yeah.
And have a publishing company look after the songwriting. But yeah, but in terms of AI, I don't know where that's going to lead, but I can't answer that because it's beyond my pay grade.
It's not as sophisticated yet at all as it's going to be. It's still in its nascent.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw Chris Frantz from Talking Heads has, Tina Tuesday. He always posts a picture of Tina Weymouth, his wife. playing bass or whatever, and underneath the meta AI thing suggested to find out more about Tina Turner. It's like, well, just
Yeah,
because it's a thing,
right.
it's not that smart yet.
Yeah, true, true.
But even when it went from, there was nothing except now these wax cylinders can record music. Oh, well, that's going to take away from the live thing. Oh, now it goes to a video. Well, that's no one's going to go. There's always changing technology, and people have to figure out how to deal with it.
Yeah.
'Cause it,
When it comes right down to it, I think people are always going to want live music. They want the interpersonal
yep,
interaction.
yep,
They want that communal feeling.
totally.
And I don't care how much electronics enters into the space, people are always going to want to learn how to play something.
Mhm.
And there's going to be people that will always enjoy hearing somebody play an instrument well.
Yeah, when
And
when drum machines came out, I remember thinking, "Wow, there it goes." So how do you, I learned by being in bands and playing with my friends. Well, how do people going to do that if drum machines are going to do it all? Well, drumming has gone through an incredible technical renaissance in the past 10 or 15 years.
mhm.
I took a drum lesson the other day on a finger technique that I'm trying to learn. I've been playing drums since I was 13.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
you know, the technology was made a lot of things possible, but also people still want to play and learn techniques and
Hmm.
learn how. I mean, I've shown so many people how to tune their drums. It's like, why do my drums sound like crap? Well, because here, let me show you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And,
Very
Yeah,
cool.
that's not
Dave,
going to.
you, Dave, you might appreciate this. About just before the pandemic hit, I was working downtown Nashville, and I had a in-person interview with Bill Ludwig, the grandson,
yeah,
and he's got his own drum line now, WFL3
right.
drums,
Very
and
excited.
super nice guy, super nice guy.
I was at the NAMM show back in, oh God, in 1980, 81 or something. And Bill Ludwig Sr., the chief, they called him, was there at their
Mm.
big display. And I went over and I said, yeah, I've been using a vintage 1965 Ludwig kit to play with, these last couple of things. And he said, it's guys like you that are going to put me out of business. Buy a new drum set. What's the matter with
Well, Junior was trying to talk me into learning how to play drums. I said, "You don't need that kind of bad publicity." So
you? Hey, if I can do it, you can do it. It's not.
I just play the tabletops, play Wipeout on the tabletop or something, or my stomach.
Right.
Yeah.
Ask my wife. Like the kid, it's like it's constant.
Well, guys, this was a lot of fun. What are you guys going to do from here? I mean, the album's coming out, and what are there any plans to do anything to back it up or support it in any way?
Well, we're doing, talking to you and
Hmm.
and other people. If any shows, present themselves that make sense to do, we'll probably do that. But there's not a tour plan at the moment or anything. But we're thinking about that kind of stuff. And then Dave and I are playing at a benefit tomorrow, actually here in Portland, for LA wildfire relief, and doing some translator songs and my songs, and there's a bunch of people on the bill. So we keep going forward. And it's not about
How about new projects downstream? Anything
Yeah.
on the
yeah,
radar?
yeah. In fact, just yesterday, Dave and I, since he was up for this benefit tomorrow, listened to what's going to be my next album that he's going to play drums on, and we listened to the songs here that I've got in a sort of stripped down demo format to kind of figure out how to approach them, because it's going to be a rock and roll record. So how do we do that to make it kind of a unique version of that? And yeah, and I've got another record that's more stripped down, that's just me. And so it's like always looking here.
And I want
See
to push
that.
for more new translator songs too, because
Yeah,
the other two that are on this
yeah.
record, well, not on the vinyl, but on the download and the streaming and all that
Hmm.
jazz. Uh,
And the
they're really
CD.
good,
Yeah.
and so I want to do some more of that. I'd like to put out more new translator stuff.
Yeah. And those came about because one of them, These Days to Come, Robert had written this song and sent it to me.
Was it a song? Did he write it as a song or was it a poem?
No, it was a song.
Because Bob's a poet.
Yeah, he's a published poet, but this was a song, and it was pretty much all there. It didn't really have a chorus or a middle eight, a bridge, and so I added those things, and then we thought, oh, this sounds like a Translator song. So we all finished it up together, and then the other song, which is called
With Your Dreams.
With Your Dreams, was something that I had written here in this very room and recorded as I thought it was going to be a solo thing. And as I was putting it together, I thought, this has a Translator vibe to it, which I don't usually think about my solo stuff. And it was like, oh, so I sent it to the guys, and same thing, we finished that one up, and then thought, well, let's keep it in the family and have Ed Stasium mix them. He didn't record them, but let's have him mix them. And it just came out gangbusters.
Yeah, it came out great.
Great. We were really thrilled. And so, yeah, more of that would be fantastic.
And I'm planning to play some prog rock with some old friends.
That sounds like fun.
Well,
when this new stuff starts coming out, solo or Translator or otherwise, keep me in mind. I'd love to talk to you guys about it and help you get the word out, and we'll have some fun talking music. I love this conversation, and I hope it helps with some album sales and keep your guys' name in front of your fans. I know when I put it out there on my personal social media, people were excited that I was going to be talking to you.
Very
It's
cool.
been beautiful to see the response, so far, and the record's not even out yet, but the tracks that have come out, and people seem really excited about the prospect of this, which really has made us feel really good.
Yeah, there's another single coming Friday.
Yeah.
A song called Gravity, Robert song called
And it's a live version, which was on our third album, and it's a live version from this live album. Yeah.
Very cool. All right. Well, guys, thanks a million for chatting with me, and my door is always open to you. I'm glad we finally got to meet, and like I said, if I can ever help and support future work, please let me know, and we'll get one of these set up, and we will chat.
100%.
Okay, man.
Thank you.
Really nice talking to you.
All right, take care, stay safe.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. This has been another stellar episode of Boomerocity with your host, producer, and friend, Randy Patterson. The theme music is Roll the Dice by our good friend Quentin Hope, and all rights reserved and used by permission, of course. Post-production is done by Cardinal Sins Productions. The Boomerocity name, logo, and content is copyright protected, so all segments may only be used with written consent by Boomerocity and or its assignees. You should direct your inquiries to input@boomerocity.com, and the copyright is 2025.